Hi, let me share one of my other favorite movement exercises and how you can use these wonderful slings props a little bit differently than you might have used them in the past. So when we go in a moment on to a prone position, you will be taking the one dome and placing it more into the left half of the pubis. But right at that rounding at the top of the pubis is where you want to place the apex. The other dome you're going to place at the lower ribs as a woman, wherever it is comfortable with your breast tissue. You have the option of using also a ball on your sternum. Some love that, some don't, so your choice. Either just the two domes or still a ball on the sternum. Let's start it though with going into a 4-point kneeling position. So bring the hip joint directly over the knee joint. Weight bear just below the kneecap. Center the pelvis and elongate the spine, and bring your hands directly underneath your shoulders. The hands can be pulled slightly apart. Press the feet very subtly into the floor. Keep that deep stability from within in the pelvis and the lumbar, and then lift your feet off, just to where it suits. Lower the feet again. Press the feet gradually more into the floor to about a 5 on a scale from 0 to 10, and then lift the feet back off. Very subtly, just about a 2, press the feet back into the floor, and then release the pressure, lift the feet off, and lower them back down. Engage through pelvic floor into abdominals, curling the pelvis under, going into an even spinal flexion. Let the head fully relax. Breathe into the back of the rib cage. Sit further back. Keep that lift to the pubic bone. Feel that positive tensioning in your lower back and breathe into the lower back. Center the pelvis, elongate the spine, and then shift over hands and knees. Press the feet very gently into the floor again. Lift the feet off. Lower the feet and gradually press them all the way to an 8. Release the pressure. Lift the feet back off. Lower them down, and a very subtle pressure again. Release the pressure. Curl the pelvis under, lift through pelvic floor and abdominals, lift the pubic bone. Let the lower back open, let the rest of the spine follow. How expansive does the breath feel? How mobile does the lower back feel? And how expansive does the lower back feel when you breathe into it? Center the pelvis again, elongate through the spine, and then from here, shift over hands and knees. Sit all the way back into a child's pose. And then from the child's pose, you're going to lower yourself down onto your stomach. So on the stomach, you are going to take the dome into the left quarter of the pubic bone. So you want to go under the pubic bone, close to that rounding, and then you take the dome on the right side in the rib cage, and if you wish, a ball onto the sternum. Now make sure you arrive on the props where you want to be. Take a moment to just settle and let the imprints of these props just happen, or taking note of how they make you feel. Then from here, you're going to reach through your left leg along the floor. Keep the foot on the floor. You're just reaching away, opening the front of the hip, and then you relax again. And then you go once more. You reach through the leg away, open through the front of the hip, keep the foot on the floor, and relax. Bend the knee, point the foot up to the ceiling. Should there be a sense of not enough blood flow, you just move the prop a little bit. And then let the leg fall from side to side. We call it a windscreen wiper movement. So in a relaxed manner, you let your lower leg move from side to side. If you wish, also go into a semicircle, letting the lower leg swoop from right to left and then left to right. Start to center yourself again, lower the leg all the way down, and then take the dome away and move it across into the crease of the hip. So it's below the hip bone in the crease of the hip, And you can bring your arms into a T position. So arms at shoulder height if that suits, or you keep your left arm bent and just extend the right. With your next inhalation, glide through the sternum forward, then lead through the head. Initiate the extension from the top down. The head leads, the tailbone still lengthens back, the sternum glides upwards and forward your breastbone. And then draw on your right hand, let your rib cage follow, spiraling to the right. Your left shoulder rolls backwards and downwards. So an external rotation. Release the spiraling at the pull, center yourself again. You draw on your right hand, you spiral to the right, let your left shoulder roll back. If you wish, reach through the left leg, lift it. It's not a high lift where you can keep that centeredness and lengthen the lumbar and the pelvis. Lower the leg, center the spine. On the inhalation, you spiral. You pull on your right hand. Exhale, reach through the legs, spiral the left shoulder back and out. And on the inhalation, lower the leg and then center yourself. Once more, draw on the right hand. Let the breath flow if you prefer. Spiral the left shoulder out and reach through the left leg. Centering again. And then you lower all the way down, softening over the props. And then you remove the props. Take a moment to sense. Bring the hands close to the rib cage. Elbows are drawn back, pointing back. Lift the head just off and push hands and knees into the floor, pushing up. Center yourself in a 4-point kneeling position. Press the feet very gently into the floor. Sense, how does that feel now? Lift the feet. Maybe one foot feels lighter than the other. Lower back down. Press gradually more. How does it feel when you press down? Is one leg closer or more in contact with the floor, lifting back off? And then lower back down. Engage pelvic floor and abdominals, curling the pelvis under, lifting the pubic bone. How does this cat position feel? Let the head relax, breathe in. As you shift further back, does one side open differently? Can it tension differently to the other? For me, definitely where I did that pubic bone massage and that hip massage. And then center, elongating through the spine, floating your left arm up, bringing in some stability, lower it back down, floating the right arm up, and then lowering it back down. Shift over hands and knees, and then from here, you shift back into a child's pose. You lower yourself onto your stomach again, and then here, this time, you bring the dome onto the right side of the pubic bone. Again, just where you have that rounding, a little bit more in the right half. Once you feel it's in the right place, bring the dome onto the lower ribs on the left. And if you used a ball on the sternum, a ball on the sternum again. Take a moment and just sense, do the props feel right? Can you drape over them and just arrive? Once you've arrived, engage pelvic floor and abdominals very subtly. To keep lumbar pelvic stability, reaching through the right leg along the floor. Keep the foot on the floor though. And then you relax again. So you might feel how you're lengthening that tissue. Many of the adductors, which are part of the hip flexors, attach to the pubic bone as well as your abdominals. And then relax the leg, bend the knee, point it up towards the ceiling, and let it fall from side to side. So just like a windscreen wiper swishing away a gentle rain, you let it move from side to side, creating more glide through all these muscles that do attach to the pubic bone, which is several. And then you even go into a semicircle if that suits. Keep a very gentle lumbar pelvic stability. Yes, you will move, but you still keep it stabilized. And then center again, lower the leg all the way down. And then from here, you're going to move the dome into the crease of the hip. So stay below the hip bone. Bring your arms to shoulder height. And then from here, you're going to glide upwards and forwards, initiating it from the top down. The head leads, the breastbone follows. Keep the length in the lumbar. You're going to draw on your left hand, spiraling towards the left. Spiral your right shoulder out. Release the pull on the left and the spiraling on the right shoulder and center yourself. With your inhalation, you spiral towards the left. Spiral your right shoulder out. Let the breath flow if you want. Reach through the right leg. Keep the lumbar pelvic stability. And then lower the leg again. Release the pull and center yourself. On the inhalation, spiraling towards the left. Exhale, spiral the right shoulder out and reach through the right leg back. Inhale, release and center. And then going once more, breathing in, spiral, massaging on the sternum, on the rib cage, strengthening as you lift that leg, mobilizing the shoulders as well. And then centering, and then you slowly lower all the way back down, softening over the props. Once arrived, remove the props. Take a moment to just sense how this feels. Bring the hands close to the rib cage, elbows are pointing backwards. Lift the head just off and then push hands and knees into the floor, pushing up and shifting back into a 4-point kneeling position again. Establish the 4-point kneeling position. Press the feet gently into the floor. Lift the feet off and then gradually press the feet more down. How does that feel now? Right, left. Is there a difference, or do you feel more balanced again? Maybe you have more contact with the front of the ankles than at the beginning. Release the pressure. Engage pelvic floor and abdominals. How can you engage through the abdominals? Maybe you feel you have a very different possibility to really lift through that pubic bone. Sit further back. Keep the hands where they are. And again, lift even more through the pubic bone. Feel how you can open and tension the lower back positively. Center the pelvis, elongate the spine. Lift your right arm up. Lower it back down. Lifting the left, creating some stability. And then lower back down, shift the weight over hands and knees. Once more, press the feet gently into the floor. Lift. And then release. One curl into a cat. Enjoy that new freedom and that new access that you've potentially created through pelvic floor and abdominals. Breathe in. Sense that strength that you can tap in from the pelvic floor into the abdominals. Pause and breathe in. And then center the pelvis, elongate the spine, floating the right arm up, and then lowering back down. So addressing the front has potentially freed up your back, and you bring some strength back in as you float the arms up, centering over hands and knees again, and then shift all the way back. I hope this gives you a new sense of how you can really access this connection of your pelvic floor to your abdominals, as well as potentially a different mobility in your lower back and your hips.